my friend, bless you and thank you. You had a vision. Yuri was an Israeli and a Jew, and he was just thinking bigger thoughts than the Israelis were thinking. His thought was what you could call a West Asian community. In other words, Israel would have its place in a setting. His thinking was regional. And since that was also independent of him, my thinking about it, we of course touch ground very often, and he was deeply committed to his vision of a region. Thank you, Yuri. Thank you. A region is a community, and it's a community based on mutual cooperation. And in that West Asia community, you would have an Israel. And he, like everybody else, or most people, went by United Nations international law, Resolution 242. So it was an Israel recognized. But around that Israel, you had, of course, Lebanon, Syria, you had Jordan, you had a Palestine recognized, which was to him absolutely obvious, and you had Egypt. So there you had 6 countries already in that region. But I think his thinking went further than that and went to the neighbors of those countries. And we don't have to list them. Everybody can look at the map and find out who they are. And a big region, a vast region, like the European community. You know, one important point about the European community, whatever one might think about details, it has set a model. And one important point about that model is that it is both a community of states and a community of functions. And of course the community of states is run by the Council of Ministers, and the community of functions is run by the High Commission. And you have commissioners for each function, be that youth employment, be that water, whatever. And these are the technical, functional things. So his model was along those lines. There would be a Palestine. Very much so. There would be a Palestine. So that would be one of the states in the region. There would be an Israeli state. The one that international law sanctions positively. But there wouldn't be anything like the Netanyahu dream of a state from the Nile to the Euphrates, in which would pass through 8 countries in addition to Israel. In other words, something totally unacceptable. So, a community of states with the European community as a model. And I think in his mind, as in mine, it was the European community of the Treaty of Rome, which went into reality, entrée en vigueur, as they say in French, the 1st of January, 1958. Yuri didn't say that Israel should disarm. The Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, he was sort of thinking beyond that, you know. Let us create a condition, a situation, a community where arms would sort of wither away and gradually be seen as unnecessary and outmoded. And you know, for me as a Nordic, it's important to point out that Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Iceland, we all have arms. And Norway and Sweden, with that very long border, we have more than enough to destroy each other. But they're not targeting on each other. So this targeting, as I call it, would be a first step. Disarmament was not in Yuri's list of concerns. This list of concerns was community cooperation. Thank you, URI, for what you did for us.